Sony has made it clear that it wants to invest more in multiplayer games this generation, and that got me reminiscing about a time they actually did make multiplayer games. And that generation, of course, was PlayStation 3.
Dear PlayStation, just got my PS3. So what you got?
What do I got? 2 words. Montage.
Tight.
So in this era, Sony was trying a whole bunch of stuff. You want a game based on MC Escher art? They got you covered. You want a game where you just throw a dude off a slingshot? They got you covered. You want a game about like rubber ducks? They got you covered. So with the PS3 era, it also gave rise to the PlayStation Network, which was essentially their version of Xbox Live. Wanting to imitate the success of Xbox Live Arcade, Sony made sure to develop and fund games exclusively for the PlayStation Network. But one developer did create a very memorable PlayStation Network game. Released in 2009 with the help of Sony Santa Monica's external development team, this game was intended to be a Castle Siege game, which they succeeded. And that game is known as Fat Princess. So this game came out around June 2009, and it's been 13 years since then. So it's been a while since I played this game. And luckily, I don't know how I did this, but I have it in my downloads list. It was either thanks to PlayStation Plus or I bought it somehow. I honestly do not remember at all. And that's also great too, because the game is delisted from the PlayStation Network. Thank you, Sony. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump into Fat Princess. Good old PlayStation 3 XMB. The best UI for any console. Don't at me. So off the bat, I have to say I really appreciate this game's art style. It's unique for its time, it's cute on the outside, but gory and filled with crude humor on the inside. But what's the actual game? Developed by Titan Studios, it's basically a capture the flag game, but where the flag is the princess. The game is pretty much a real-time action strategy game. There are 2 teams of 16 players each, and the goal is to capture your princess. The game is also class-based, and there's 5 different classes to choose from in the base game. You got the warrior, the ranger, the worker, the mage, and the priest. Each class has its own strengths and weaknesses, and they all play pivotal roles within the match. For example, the warrior is your main offensive melee type character. He can block projectile attacks, and he has the most health. The priest, for example, is the support class. He can heal your teammates while also taking life away from enemies. And then you got the worker, which is the harvester of the game. This game also has resources, mainly wood and ore, and these resources are used to upgrade your own team to help you win in battle. The worker can build structures like springs, ladders, and gates, and more importantly, he is used to upgrade your hat machines, which is basically the way you can switch your classes mid-match. So once you upgrade your hats, you get access to a new move for said class. For example, the warrior gets a new spear that does more damage, but it removes his shield. The ranger gets a full-on blunderbuss that does really good damage, but it has a shorter range than the bow. And while the worker might seem like the most boring class, I honestly found him one of the most fun. There's something about this game it's very satisfying, just collecting resources and slowly upgrading your classes and your castle. I don't know what it is, but they nailed it. Good job, Titan Studios. Before I forget, you can feed cake to the princess your team is holding onto, which makes it harder for the enemy team to carry her. That's why the game is called Fat Princess. So the game also has its own single player mode. You can fight against the AI in all the various maps, or it actually has its own campaign mode, which is not really a campaign. It does give you some backstory on the lore, with the narrator reading some text. It's pretty much a tutorial, getting you used to all the different game modes in the game. It's only about 7 missions long. As a single player offering, Fat Princess is okay, but it's definitely not the core. The core of this game is clearly its multiplayer. The game has 5 different modes. We talked about Capture the Princess a lot. They also got an invasion game mode, which is kind of like domination from Call of Duty. Pretty much have to gain control of outposts throughout the map. Once you gain more than 50%, the enemy team's score counter starts decreasing. Whichever team loses all their points first ends up losing. You got Snatch and Grab, which is a faster version of Capture the Princess, but instead of defending a princess on your own side, there's none of that, so you pretty much have to go and get the princess from the enemy team. First team to do that 3 times wins the match. And finally, you got Standard Team Deathmatch. That's pretty self-explanatory, but there's also a mode called Soccer, which is definitely the way more wacky and definitely the party mode of this game. It starts off simple enough, but instead of 11 players on each side, there is 16, and you guys pretty much just kill each other until someone scores, and once the 10 minutes are over, the winner of the match is declared. As for the map total, there are 12 maps in this game, 8 in the base game, and 4 of them which are free DLC via patches, so that's pretty good. For a PSN title in 2009, I think 12 maps is perfectly fine, and they're all pretty much varied. You got your forest areas, you got snowy mountains, you got a volcano, tropical vibes, a good variety with the maps. And you got character customization as well. You have to play the game to unlock more, but here are the ones I unlocked. And probably the biggest surprise for me about this game, the servers are still up. A PSN title from 2009 still has the online servers up, which is really shocking to me. Almost every other PlayStation 3 game that had multiplayer functionality had its servers shut down. I think of Uncharted multiplayer, Killzone Resistance, PlayStation All-Stars, Warhawk, Starhawk, you name it, the servers are probably shut down. The only 2 games I think still have their servers up are Fat Princess and God of War Ascension. Conveniently, those are 2 Sony Santa Monica games, so I think something's up. Maybe not. But Sony Santa Monica, if you're watching this, please don't shut down the servers to those games. Please. Hopefully you'll listen to me. So yeah, I played a few matches of online, and surprisingly, I did find some players who are still playing this game in 2022, which is crazy. Of course, I got my ass beat multiple times, but that's to be expected. But honestly, I had a great time playing this game multiplayer, man. It was way more fun than I expected, and honestly, I might play a little bit more after this. So we'll see. One thing I should add is that this game actually did get DLC. It was called the Fat Rolls Expansion, and it offered 3 new character classes: the Pirate, the Ninja, and the Giant. Unfortunately, the DLC is delisted, so I cannot access it, and therefore I cannot capture footage of these classes, so once again, thank you, Sony. And that's pretty much Fat Princess. Or is it? Yeah, Fat Princess also got a PSP version. This version was developed by a different studio titled Supervillain Studios, and it's essentially the same exact game from the PS3 version, except instead of 32 players, it's 24, thanks to the PSP's limited hardware, and it also has a little bit more content than the PS3 version. And the new content is essentially 4 new maps and 4 new game modes, which are not on the PS3 version. And to be quite honest, the PSP version of Fat Princess is pretty good for a smaller scale portable version of the PS3 game. Fat Princess on PSP gets the job done. So playing Fat Princess again 13 years later, I kind of think this game was a bit better than I remembered, actually. Recording the footage made me realize just how fun this game was. I totally forgot about the resource management aspect of the game. Just seeing all the different maps and modes. For a PSN title, this was pretty damn good, man. And as a multiplayer title, I think it's just pure fun. Thinking about Sony's future and more live servicey type of games, I really hope they at least consider bringing back Fat Princess. It's very unlikely considering that they did bring it back for PS4, albeit that's a totally different style of game, and that game kind of bombed, even though I kind of liked it. So I think the Fat Princess IP is currently out of action, and once again, I hope Sony reconsiders that and brings this game back to life. If you want to play this game, it's going to be really tough because the digital version is delisted, and the only way to get this game physically is through PlayStation Network Hits Volume 1, I believe that's what it's called, which was a compilation disc of various PlayStation Network games, and Fat Princess was one of them. Unfortunately, this game is kind of rare, so the prices of that disc have gone up in the past few years, so if you're willing to fork out the cash for some PlayStation Network games, I would recommend it. Other than that, that brings us to the end of this video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Comment, subscribe, let me know what you think about Fat Princess, if you had any memories about this game. I'm Real Radic, and I'm signing off. Peace.